Hi everybody, let's look at how we can enhance some of our instructional videos. Welcome back to Talk and Chalk, guys. I'm Beck, and today I am not featuring on your screen, which means I can be in my PJs when I do this. So today I'm going to take you through just a few quick tips that will help you in enhancing some of the instructional videos that you've been creating for your students during remote learning. If you're new to the channel, all the buttons and everything are down below in the description, and I'm going to go straight into it today. So if you are someone who has branched out of your comfort zone and started making some of your own videos, well done, hats off to you. If you're someone who is experienced, I hope you are sharing your skills with those people around you and supporting each other. And if you're someone who is just thinking about it, that's okay as well. There's no point reinventing the wheel when we know there's other teachers out there that are creating lots of great videos that our kids can benefit from. Don't create an excessive workload for yourself by trying to create every video yourself. The best part about creating video content for your kids is the connectedness that it gives you so that kids can hear your voice, possibly see you. And even if you're using something from the classroom, if you're filming in the classroom, it helps them stay connected to you during this difficult time. So let's look through at some of the ways that you can use video in the classroom. And this is a very broad thing. And this is a prompt that I've used in presentations before we were dealing with remote learning. And these are just 8 ways that you can use video in the classroom. What I want you to consider, though, is this why factor here. And why are we actually making these videos? And is it, students watching to get information? Are they watching and copying? Like, are they mimicking? Are they singing with you? Are they counting? Are they watching so that they can complete something? Perhaps there's a task that comes afterwards or an activity to do in a workbook. Are they watching to create something? Are they going to make something? Are they copying you making something, or are you just inspiring them? Is it a hook video to get them interested? Are they watching simply just to view? If, for example, maybe you're doing an instructional video that's a read to, you're reading a story and it's all about using the think alouds, and are they just sitting there and soaking that up? Are they watching just to listen? So some things, for example, watching to view, maybe perhaps like a handwriting video, they're literally just viewing it. If it's just listening, perhaps you're reading a chapter book out loud and they're not actually seeing any text, they're not seeing any pictures, they're just listening to you. So these things on here, these 8 ways. So we've got, morning announcements. If you're using flipped learning, it's an alternative form of assessment, digital storytelling, project-based learning, developing presentation skills. You might be doing an announcement, or it could be introductions. All of these things are great ways that you can use videos with your kids. So perhaps maybe you don't feel confident making an instructional video for your kids, but you might want to have morning announcements on a Monday morning as it goes out. And it's a good way to stay connected. And if you're nervous, it's a good way to practice making these videos. Who are you making it for? Now, we know ideally it's for our students, but keep in mind it will not only be students using your videos. The parents will sit down and likely watch these videos as well if they're going to support their children with this learning. It might be older siblings, it could be grandma, grandpa, auntie, uncle, you never know. They could be going to the neighbor next door because their parent may have to go to work, and that person is going to be watching it as well. So obviously, if you're using lingo that may be only relevant to the student, maybe you've got some inside jokes in the classroom that those people might not understand, try and keep it as really explicit as possible in the language that you're using, especially if you have parents who may not speak English very well. So keep it really clear and consistent, and minimal on all of that educational jargon that sometimes we jump into from time to time. Now consider the device that kids are using as well. This obviously this is meant to be a mobile phone, and seeing what it could look like if the kids are watching on a mobile phone. And even if the kids do have a device at home, if they're sharing that device with their siblings, chances are the parents are going to chuck them the phone for whatever it is so they can sit down and watch it while the other child is using the device. And when they're watching something on a mobile phone, it's very small. So keep that in mind when you're making your video and the size of things that you're using. They could be using a tablet. Some tablets have larger screens, some are very small, and depending on the quality of the tablet, it may or may not be quite as good as other ones. So keep that in mind too. If they're watching on a desktop or a PC somewhere, they're likely to have a much larger screen, which is ideally what we want them to have. However, we know some are larger than others. So keep those things in mind when we're making our videos. Okay, these basic things are my highest recommendations. Remember to keep it clear, targeted, and minimal. I think those are the three key things that you need to think of. So make sure that the resources that you're using are easy to see. If you're using laminated sheets, make sure there's no reflection coming off them so that the kids can't see, and make sure that they're big enough that they can read them. Make sure that whoever is speaking, whether it's you or if you've got someone helping you, is easy to understand. Now, if you're standing very far away from the device that you're recording from, you are going to have to speak up very loud so that it's easy to understand. My own kids have sat here looking at some YouTube videos for some of their work that they've had at home. And if I've got the 4-year-old running around and the kettle is brewing, it's very hard to hear. So make sure it's nice and loud. Use basic text font and backgrounds. This is not the time to be getting all super fancy. Sometimes those things don't translate over when you're opening it up on a different device. Crazy backgrounds or bright colors. Those are the things that are going to make it tricky if that font doesn't go over to the other device. Or if what they're using obviously is too small to read it. Keep it very clear and basic. When it comes to being targeted, stick to the lesson content. Try not to deviate off into some other story about grade art, whatever, that has actually nothing to do with that content, because then the kids' minds will stray and we lose the point. So stick to that lesson content. Sometimes it even pays to have a bit of a script. If you're new to this and you're not sure what you're going to say and you're going to forget all of your points, have some notes there that you can tick away. So even if the kids can see you doing that, that's fine. If you want to learn how to edit, you can edit those things out, but you're human. The kids understand. It's absolutely fine. If you don't want to show your face and you're just showing a screen like I am, you can have a script next to you and no one will know. Make sure you're using the main resources as well. And I'm going to show some pictures on what that could look like if we're not using the main resources. So I'll get to that one in a few slides. And make sure that if you're mentioning any kind of links or additional materials, you provide them. If you're referencing something, in maths and you're talking about needing to use a ruler, we want to make sure kids actually have a ruler at home to be able to do that. If you're talking about a link to a YouTube channel or a video that the kids should have watched, provide the link as well. Makes it so much easier than having to try and search that up. Just say, in this assignment post that I'm giving you today, after you've watched this video, go to the link that I've given you and you'll be able to do the activity. In terms of minimal, recommended time for any of these instructional videos is anywhere between, sort of 7 and 10 minutes. When we stretch it out longer than that, chances are we're going to lose the engagement factor, we're going to lose the attention span, and really we also want to make sure we're limiting the amount of time kids are sitting at a screen watching things. They are meant to be doing as much as possible. When they've got a video saved in there, they can pause, rewind, replay as many times as they want to be able to understand what's going on. So you don't need to make a 30-minute video with all the directions sort of re-given in different ways. Just do it clear and consistent the first time. And if the kids are stuck, they can ask questions in your communication channels. Make sure you fill the screen with only what's needed. And again, I'm going to show some photo examples of what this looks like if we stray from this. Another recommendation is to remove extra panels on screenshots. So if you're screenshotting a website that has lots of ads down the side, get rid of the ads. It's too distracting, it's unnecessary, and it's going to confuse any of the students or parents who don't really understand what all that extra stuff is for. Teachers, we have a habit of just looking at the thing that we want and not seeing all that chaos that's around it. So your filming options, it doesn't need to be professional. It just clear and steady. I've used my mobile phone for a ton of videos and I've used my Surface Pro laptop and the phone. I do not have a professional camera. I've only recently acquired a GoPro and it was my birthday present. Thank you, hubby. And I haven't even had a chance really to use that in any kind of capacity for this. I'm just using it for family stuff. But here we can see some interesting examples of how to prop up your phone, just so that you can keep it steady, because if it's wobbly, that's when the kids aren't going to be able to see it properly. This is just a coffee cup with the sides cut out, holding the mobile phone on it. This one over here, I don't know if you can see, it's bulldog clips holding that one up. This person here has used 2 chairs and they've attached their camera to a wooden pole there by the looks of it. And then they've put this, can you see this rope here, and tied it to a jar so that it will keep the camera being steady. And they're filming the guitar down here, or taking a photo of the guitar down here. And I've done this before as well. I've used what do you call them? Storage cubes in the classroom. So I had the storage cube here, storage cube here, and then I had a whiteboard sitting across it there flat, and then my device was on top of it slightly to the side so the camera could see down below, and it was just my hands in there doing the different activities. You can see that on my Clever Pickles channel. And the key point here though is that, you know, nobody's actually going to see how you filmed it, and just use what's around you. Okay, so when you're filming yourself, I recommend just keeping it simple. You don't need special lighting. You can see this guy sitting opposite an open window there with the blinds open. Natural lighting is the best lighting you could possibly use. The only thing I would recommend is if you look on his screen, he's actually got windows behind him that can cause a bit of a glare. So I would try and avoid that if you can. I also recommend just having a plain background behind you, nothing with sort of identifying features like your own family photos or anything like that. If you're using Zoom, or I think it's Teams, they all have options for blurring your background or creating a special background that you can have as well. But I do this as well. When the camera is sitting down a bit low, we get that lovely double chin. Prop it up on a few books, and you'll avoid sort of that, and it's a much more flattering angle. It's a nicer angle. If you're like me, you'll have a little stem at the back of your laptop here, and this the screen will flop backwards if you don't use it. All I do is I put another stack of books or a box here behind it to prop it up so that it doesn't fall down or look like a bit of an unflattering angle. Okay, so avoid obviously any background noise or visual distractions if possible. It's very understandable if you've got something going on at home. You know, working from home is not easy. I am currently filming this at 10:30 at night because my kids are in bed asleep and I know they're not going to come out and annoy me. Okay, so keep that setup basic. Kids are going to get easily distracted by a very cluttered background or too many resources on display. And this is part of the reason we say to keep things minimal in the classroom as well. Display only the things that you're going to explicitly use. So for example, you know, you might have your learning intentions and success criteria on display for the video. Does this actually need to be there? This would be taking up a lot of space, and then the kids might be looking in that instead of actually paying attention to you and what you're doing. So could this the list be added as a text at the point in the video that you actually need it, or could that be shared as a resource with the video that you're sharing with the students? So just keep that in mind. So let's have a look at this. This was just a classroom picture I found on Google. It's a beautiful classroom wall, and it's got the months, the date, the weather, and then we've got the clock, and then we've got this section over here which is obviously focusing on place value. Now let's pretend that the teacher wants to teach a lesson on place value, and she's going to use the resource from the classroom because, you know, that's a good way to connect with the kids. So we put the teacher in front of the classroom here, and let's film this way. Now the teacher might be here trying to focus on this and changing all the numbers around in these sections and doing the lesson. Meanwhile though, you know, Johnny, who gets distracted, is over here wondering, you know, what's the weather today? It's not sunny today. I want Miss to change that. You know, what could it be? What would I change the weather to? And oh, hang on a second, she said 20 something. What was I meant to do with 20 something? And oh, I don't think it's, do you know what? Miss hasn't actually got that 9 in the right spot. That should be halfway there. You know, and oh, hang on a second, she said 70 something. Oh, right. So that's the kind of distraction those kids could have. So what we're better off doing is getting right in close and just focusing on what you need to use. That's the ideal version that you need. And even if you're not in there, you might want to take you out and just film this part. That's absolutely fine as well. So let's take our lovely friend Mr. Eddie Wu here as an example. Eddie was known for his YouTube, or is known for his YouTube channel, where he's shared hundreds of different videos of his classroom lessons. And those of you who haven't seen it, what he has done is he videos the lessons as they occur in his classroom of him doing the instructional part, and he puts that onto his YouTube channel. And this came because he had a sick kid that couldn't attend classes. And it worked out brilliantly because now kids all over the world can see lessons in real time. They can also see the conversations that he has empathize with the kids when they ask questions or they try and clarify something. It's the best kind of think aloud process that you can have. It's the teacher and the student. However, now he can't do it, and a lot of the time he's like us and also working from home, so he's had to modify what he does. And this is what his lessons now look like. So he's got himself added here, just on the screen, so the kids can still see him and still have that connection. And then I'm pretty sure, correct me if I'm wrong, Eddie, this is an iPad screen share that he's using, and he's writing this in real time. So he's writing this and talking through the formulas with the kids and going through the teaching process he needs to go through. Now, this is a process that you can use with a whole bunch of different software. I'm currently using PowerPoint to screen record, but you can use, I think it's Chromecastify, Zoom, Jitsi does recording. There's heaps of different options out there if you want to have your face included with what you're doing. But I want you to consider, do the kids actually need to see your face for this? Is that going to be a distraction? If you're a teacher with hearing impaired students and you're using sign language, absolutely you need to be there. If you're teaching a spelling lesson and you're trying to show the children how to formulate or articulate with your mouth and the sounds that you're using, yes, you absolutely need to be in that video. But if you're doing a lesson, for example, like my handwriting lessons, the kids don't need to see my face. They need to see my hand. So no, you could probably take that out. If you're not comfortable with your face being seen as well, you can modify that. So here's an alternative if we change Eddie's face to a Bitmoji, which is a free app you can download, and put different pictures in there as well, if you'd like to still have some of that kind of connectedness. Or if you want to take it out completely, just go with screen recording. The kids will still be able to connect with you. They will understand you. They will know your mannerisms and remember those things. And it makes it easier for you to create these types of videos too in your PJs if you want to from home. Another tip I'd like you to take into account is the resources that you're using. So let's say we know that the kids at home don't have any counters, so you know that you're going to suggest to them to use buttons, or maybe you've sent buttons home because that was an easy thing to send home quickly on the fly before schools had to go into this remote learning style. Then use buttons for the video. You know, don't do it with the double-sided counters and then tell the kids, okay, kids, let's pretend these were buttons and go off and get them. That's just going to add a layer of confusion. So if possible, try and use the same resources that the kids will have at home. Hopefully you've been in a position to be able to send home lots of resources from the classroom for the kids, and you'll be able to refer to it and say, hey kids, we sent you a bunch of dominoes. I want you to pick those up for this activity. Okay, we know not all teachers have the best handwriting. So if you know your writing is too small, if it's rushed, if it's messy, maybe you use lots of cursive handwriting and the kids can't understand it if they're younger kids, then switch to text. Just type it up, have it up on the wall or on the screen. Use photos or screen recordings or printouts. Like, this isn't the time to be proud of this or bold or anything like that. You know, just use the text if you need it. The last thing I'd like you to consider before we finish up tonight is this quote from Helen Hayes, which is, "The expert in anything was once a beginner." We are all beginners when it comes to this. We've got lots of things coming out now saying this is how you do remote learning. Really, you need to figure out how you're doing remote learning. So when it comes to creating these videos, these instructional videos for your students, you know what your students need. These are just some tips to help you refine the actual filming process so that we can really hone in on that great content that you will be able to present as a teacher. So thanks for joining me today, guys. If you want to subscribe, like I said, everything is below, and I'll see you in the next video.